Since debuting in the UFC at just 19 years of age, Jake Matthews has grown into one of Australia's most experienced fighters. With over 20 fights in the UFC, the Celtic Kid's journey has been shaped by personal growth, renewed faith, and the constant challenge of competing at the sport's highest level. The Melbourne native sat down to speak about what keeps him dialed in.
Nice to hear that crowd pop for the Celtic Kid, Jake Matthews, representing Victoria, Australia.
I was never going to settle for mediocrity.
Oh! Jake Matthews with a huge stoppage!
When this young man is at his best, we see a very dangerous striker with a very good ground game.
And he tapped the Celtic Kid! Whoa!
I was born in Melbourne. We call it the Jewel of the North. Grew up playing football. I was always athletic, always tried to get in any sport that I could. During the footy off-season, I wanted to stay fit, so I ended up at a kickboxing gym. They had jiu-jitsu, they had MMA. I was just confident just from being a young, fit, aggressive kid. And 6 months later, I had my first amateur fight. My first amateur fight, I ended up knocking him out with a head kick. Then a few months later, I turned 18 and when I made my pro debut.
The Celtic Kid, Matthews.
It was for an East Coast title against a guy who was 7-0, the scariest looking guy I've ever fought.
Nice leg kick from Fiamata.
Threw me around, double-legged me, took me down. Pretty much dominated the first round. I could sense that he was getting tired.
There we go. Oh, great reversal there.
I just kept wearing away at him and getting a win.
He is out. A TKO win there to Jake Matthews.
Beat an absolute monster, got a belt strapped around my waist. It was one of the best feelings ever. Everything that happened in that fight happened for a reason. If it didn't happen exactly that way, I might not be where I am today. That fight just solidified my career. I had my head screwed on pretty well. I was always seeking out the best training partners, the best coaches, so they always kept me with a level head. From day one, the goal was to make it to the UFC. I could just see ahead in the future and visualize the UFC about one day. During that time, it was just such a far-fetched idea that an Aussie would make it to the UFC. No one believed it, but I believed it all along. I was 19. 2 weeks before my next local fight, I got the call up for UFC Auckland.
For the first time in UFC history, the Octagon is in Auckland, New Zealand. Just 19 years old, Jake Celtic Kid Matthews.
He's ready to rock.
I was very surprised at how composed I was. It was my first stadium fight, first time fighting in an Octagon. My debut in Auckland was against Sean Johnson. We knew going in, he was definitely an elite boxer. We wanted to rush in with combinations, close the distance, get him against the fence.
Smothering Johnson early.
I got him down with a pretty cool takedown.
Look at that. Wow. Beautiful Sumagaeshi takedown there. More punishing ground and pound.
Flurry of ground and pound. He tried to turn up into me and I ended up locking up a triangle.
Right into a triangle, and he gets it! Jake Matthews wins his UFC debut! Jake Matthews is an absolute beast!
Got to finish on my UFC debut, which was cool.
From Australia, Jake, the Celtic Kid, Matthews!
I knew I just wanted to get in and have as many fights as possible.
Oh! Superman punch. Beautiful. Rear naked choke attempt. Rogers out.
No way!
Doesn't matter where I fight, who I'm fighting.
There's the tap!
I just go in, get the job done. But getting to the UFC at 19, still got a lot of maturing to do physically.
Look at this guillotine! Very tight!
Each fight progressively got harder and harder. To the point where my last couple of fights at lightweight were losses.
And there's the stoppage.
The last fight at lightweight, I actually had partial renal failure. Kidney started shutting down. My lungs started losing capacity. I honestly thought probably could be the end of my career. At lightweight, I was draining my body so much. I was probably fighting at 50%. I needed a change. I started implementing things in my life, just trying to be a better human being, better person. I became best friends with the Muslim guys at the gym, and there was never any talk about ideologies or religions. Opened my mind to looking into the history of Islam. And then I went on my own journey. I do believe that everyone needs to find some sort of faith. You need to believe in something bigger than yourself. I attribute that to the newfound maturity in my career. I accepted Islam 3.5 years ago. I kept this journey completely to myself. My values and my behaviour and the way I grew up. And I've always had this discipline that you find in the Islamic faith. I felt that it just fit right into my lifestyle. I've really taken that lesson on board, and I just realised that the decision to go to welterweight was a good one.
Good evening, fight fans, and welcome to Australia. This is the UFC welterweight debut for Jake Matthews. Really excited to see what this young man brings in this new weight class.
The first fight back at welterweight was against Bojan Velikovic. He was probably one of the biggest welterweights I've ever fought and ever seen. It was in Sydney. I had the hometown crowd on my side. It was a very close fight.
Coming in at welterweight now, I think this is obviously the most natural weight class for him.
I just told myself, keep moving, keep pushing through the adversity. We ended up coming out on top, getting the hand raised.
Jake Matthews!
It was a massive relief to get that win. I kind of just crumble after the decision gets announced that I won the fight. All that weight on the shoulders just coming off.
Oh! Huge left by Matthews.
And I was winning fights.
Oh! Down goes Fiallo! Jake Matthews with the biggest win of his career!
Everything fell into place.
And he tapped!
Having that faith
Oh, we heard him.
and that belief that I'm on the right path,
Oh!
it gives me that extra push to push through adversity and come out on the other side with my hand raised. What I've learned in my 10 years in the UFC is that if you're after a long, prosperous career, it's going to be a roller coaster. My main goal, I've always put family and my kids at the top of the list. That should be the biggest motivation for any father. If I achieve that, then the belt should come along the way.
Is that good? Yeah?
Finding my faith raised the barrier of my threshold even higher again, and I'm starting to see the pieces of the puzzle coming together now. We've got so much more to show, and we just need to bring it out on the night.
Jake, the Celtic Kid